Good evening, everybody. My name is Dorine, and I am a very grateful, recovering addict. And it's truly good to be here tonight. And I want to thank NCCNA 10 for inviting me. And I got to do something because this ain't going to work. Where's the camera at? So all the farce is gone. That's what I call image busting. Well, like I said, I'm very glad to be here tonight. And it's my first trip to California. And it has been a beautiful and humbling experience. And I want to thank God for that. You know, been pretty nervous. I've been walking, you know, I don't care how many times you come up here to this podium, you know, you still get flips in your stomach and you still get nervous, you know. And I am kind of flipping and kind of nervous. I've been walking backwards and forwards all evening, back and forth. I couldn't even eat, you know, but I'll take care of that after the convention. Yes, the mother will take care of that. Well, to give you a little bit about myself, I was brought up and raised in Washington, D.C., which is my home. And I started using drugs at a very, very early age. At the age of 17, right after my son was born. And I can't tell you what happened or what was going on with me. All I knew is that I was a very, very sick individual long before I started using drugs. I had a kid out of wedlock. I got pregnant at the age of 15, and I had him just a little bit before my 16th birthday. And I felt like when I got pregnant with this kid, I felt like that I was a woman. It wasn't nothing anybody could tell me. I was a woman and I was having baby, so I'm on my own now. Y'all can't tell me nothing. And before I get into that, around the age of 8 or 9 years old, I was accused of being raped. And at that time, I did not get raped, but the humility that I had to go through with at that time. Now that I look back over my life, I think it started a lot of things that was happening and going on inside of me. My mother and them took me to the doctor, and the doctors found out I had not been touched, and the police come. Well, at the age of 8 or 9 years old, it was a very humiliating experience for a little kid. They found out I had not been touched. They got the man, and they finally turned him loose. But what happened after that is what I had to go through with. Every time I went out to play, people was pointing their finger at me, saying, "There go that little girl that so-and-so raped." I found little boys was pulling and making dirty gestures to me. I found myself fighting and going on all the time. I started withdrawing at a very, very early age. And I developed an attitude at a very early age where I just didn't care about anything. I just was going to do things the way that I wanted to do it because nobody believed me anyway. Well, at the age of 12 years old, They say it comes a time in this program where you make your amends and get all your things out. I have my sister here with me tonight, my older sister, and she has never heard this before. At the age of 12 years old, I did get raped, and it was a very brutal rape. And this is the first time my sister hearing about this, because it was one of her boyfriends. I never forgot that. I came home, and I was always getting into some kind of trouble, one way or another. And when I come home, my clothes were all distorted, all stained up from the grass and everything else. And my mom wanted to know what had happened to me, and I wouldn't say a word. And I know today why I didn't say anything then is because I did not want to go through with what I went through with when I was 8 years old. So I took the punishment that my mother and them gave me. I got a beating. I got punished. I had to stay in the house for a couple of weeks for messing up my clothes. And I never said anything to anybody about that actual rape. But all this is stuff that I kept within me for years and years and years. But what happened while I had all this packed down inside of me, I would go on with my chest out, like I knew everything, like I just didn't care about anything. And I didn't. Like I said, at the age of 16, I had my son. And my mother and them could not understand what was so wrong with this child of hers. But I would rebel against anything. I didn't care what it was. I would rebel against it. After I had my son, the first time I ever heard the third step is when I come in one night. I had my sister and I, my younger sister and I went to the beach, and the truck had left us. And I'll never forget walking down that dark road trying to protect my sister. But we didn't get home till 4 o'clock in the morning. And I did protect her. But of course, like always, it was my fault that the truck had left us. It was my fault that I had my sister out. And I'll never forget, I got a beating again. At that time, I decided that I was going to leave home with my kid. And I thank God that when I got ready to pack that kid's clothes and I got ready to leave out there, my stepfather, bless his heart, who's dead today, he said, "You may leave, but this kid is not going anywhere." And I left. And this is when I proceeded to go out into that lifestyle, not knowing anything. So I just dove into everything. Using drugs, drinking alcohol, soliciting, prostituting, doing anything under the sun. Anything that you think you can name of that you might have done, I'll take that. And I stayed out there in that life for over 18 some odd years. Not knowing which way to turn or which way to go. I had long since left my family because they did not understand me. Hell, I didn't even understand myself. So how was I going to expect anybody else to understand me? I got out there and I started prostituting. I started going to jail. I started stealing. And I went down as low as any woman could get. And I mean, that was pretty damn low. When I think about it now, it makes me shiver, the changes that I carried myself through out there. I had gotten to the point where I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I had gotten to the point where I could not complete. I could not compete with the young girls on the corner anymore. And it's a good thing that I was a good thief, because I wouldn't have got nothing. That's just how bad I had gotten out there. I remember the last time I got locked up, busted, it was in June of '68. And I thank my God for that. I thank my God for that bus. You know, a lot of times we go to jail, things happen to us that we have to get incarcerated so. But I'm here to tell you tonight that jail has saved many of our asses. I know when I got locked up, it was right after the Martin Luther King's ride. And it was time. See, God works in mysterious ways, and he has wonders to perform. Be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. And I had gotten to the point where I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired out there, I was praying every night, Lord, please help me not to stick this needle in my arm. God, can you help me to get a little bit further? I'm sick and tired of doing the things I was doing. I was sick and tired of being abused, used. I was sick and tired of going through the muck that I was going through with. Lord, would you please help me? I did not know how to stop. Oh, I could stop for a few days, but I did not know how to stay stopped. I remember every time I would go to jail and I'd come back out of jail, and I'd finally wind up getting me some kind of little job. Working in a hotel as a chambermaid, and man, did I trick through that hotel. And you know, there's always one of us around some kind of way, working as the salad girl. And here comes the maitre d'. He dug the tracks on my hand. He said, Lord have mercy, where is it? I think he was from out this way some damn way too. Finally got right back into it. But when I got locked up in '68, I think this is when my higher power, whom I choose to call God, stepped into my life. I laid over at that jail for 8 days, and 8 days, instead of me getting better, I got worse. They took me from Women's Detention Center over to D.C. General Hospital, which is a hospital in Washington, D.C. And they found out I had a heart murmur from using so much horse and coke and drinking alcohol, because I used to drink a lot while using. I've OD'd 3 times that I know of. One time I woke up in an abandoned house, buck naked. I couldn't tell you how I got there or what happened to me. Another time I woke up in an alley where my friends of mine drugged me out there and left me for dead. And by the grace of God, I come to just when they was walking away. Another time I woke up in Providence Hospital with the priest standing over me, giving me my last rites. And to tell you how insidious and cunning this disease we got, still didn't tell me anything. I got right back up off of that table after they revived me and wanted to remember, where did I get that last shit from? If that ain't sick, I can't tell you. When they took me over there to the hospital, they found out that I had a heart murmur. On top, I found out I had a heart murmur. They found out I had a venereal disease that was in the first stage of syphilis. And if I stand up here tonight and if I tell you that I knew what was wrong with me, that I was about to go somewhere and see about myself, I'd be telling you a damn lie. Because I didn't know what was wrong with me, and I wasn't about to go anywhere to see about myself. So you see, I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that it's only through the grace that the mother is standing here tonight. I come out of that jail not knowing which way to go or which way to turn. All I knew is that I wanted a new way of life, but how was I going to begin to get that new way of life? I never heard of Narcotics Anonymous or any other fellowship. All I wanted to do is get my life in order. I never forget sitting over at that jail wondering what I was going to do when I got out. Scared to death. And have to look up on a TV screen, and then my son's picture come up on the screen. And he was running in the thing that year for Junior Olympics. And I looked up and I said, "That's my son." And one of the girls in the joint say, "That's your son? B, you must be crazy. You know damn well that ain't your son." So what is his name? And I thought at that time that I was losing my mind. I said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Maybe it wasn't him, maybe it wasn't." And sure enough, it came back up again. And I said, "Oh, yes, that's my son." So the next day from jail, I called home to talk to my mom now. And my son answered the telephone. He was about 14 or 15. And when he answered the telephone, I told him who I was. He said, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I guess I'm all right." I said, "Where's Mom and them?" Say, "They gone to Atlantic City." I said, "Atlantic City? And I'm here in jail?" Now, go, let's show you just how sick we is. They shouldn't have been in Atlantic City and I was in jail. But that goes to show you just how sick we really are. And I went on to tell him, I said, well, Darryl, I said, when I come out here, I swear, I promise you, I'm going to do it. He said, "Hold it." He said, "Let me tell you something right now." He said, "I don't want you to promise me nothing." He said, "Because there's nothing that you can do for me." Said, "The only thing that you can do for me is get yourself together." He said, "Because I've tried to do everything I could to make you proud of me. I've done everything under the sun." He said, "I don't know what it's going to take for you. So what I got to do for myself. And I'm going on doing what I got to do for myself. And you got to go on doing what you got to do for you. That's the only thing you can do for me is get your life together." Well, if that kid didn't shut me up, I didn't know what to do. I went back to jail that night, that evening, and I sit there and I started thinking, how dare he talk to his mother like that? Boy, Snooper was working me mighty that day. That's your son, and you mean to tell me he gonna talk to you like that? That little sucker. But I got over there, and I got to thinking. And we are people who never could be honest with ourselves. But for the first time, I said he was right. What I've got to do, I got to do it for myself. Here I am, uneducated, unskilled, not knowing which way to turn, but I do want to get my life together. And I have to make probation and come out of that place. And they had opened a halfway house. for women in D.C., the first halfway house that was open. And I was one of the first residents in that house. And I stayed in that house for about 6 months before any other women come in there. I was afraid to go out the door. I was afraid to do anything without any of the counselors. Because like I said, I had long since cut my family loose. But after I had been in that house about 6 months, here come other women in the house. And a lot of these women were my peers. Women I had shot dope with, women I had exchanged money with, women I had hustled with, women I had even laid up with. And here they was coming in the house. And the greatest experience I had in my recovery is when a director come to me one night and asked me, Dorine, do you think you can handle the midnight shift? Because we don't have a counselor. And immediately I told her, okay. But little did I know what I had to go through with that night. Of course, you know they got rules and regulations set up in them halfway houses. And one of the rules was we didn't go down in the kitchen to get no coffee. We couldn't go in that kitchen. And they come to me that night and wanted to know, Dorine, lying. We sitting up there lying about the money we done made and the men we done had, and you know how we sit around and tell all them damn lies and things, and the type of clothes we had. And before I went in there, I had a big old horse pin in the skirt of mine holding it up. But I was telling you just how fine I really was. And all of a sudden, one of the girls say, Dad, I'd like to have a cup of coffee. I said, well, you know, we can't go down in that kitchen. So she said, oh, you got the keys, ain't you? And go to show you, I call this wearing 2 hats. And this is where we are. I said, we're not allowed down in that kitchen. She said, oh, shoot, we're going to go down there. So we're just going to get the coffee, clean up, come on back. I said, okay. Wanted to be all right. Opened the kitchen up and went down there. And we still talking trash. All of a sudden somebody said, what did we have for dinner tonight? And I'll never forget, we had pork chops, mashed potatoes, and spinach for dinner that night. And the girl said, well, I think I'll make me a pork chop sandwich. I said, hey, wait a minute now. I said, we can't take them pork chops. She said, bitch, you must be crazy. I'm going to eat me one of these goddamn pork chops. All of a sudden, I barricaded the Frigidaire. I said, everybody out of the kitchen, ain't nobody getting a so-and-so thing. I changed my whole attitude. Scared to death. And I was ready to kill anybody who touched that Frigidaire. They say they didn't get this bitch a pair of keys and she done lost her mind. Of course, you know, I let them get the coffee and they got out of the kitchen. But I had never felt so alone. This is my first time dealing with loneliness. I had never felt so alone in my life as I did that night. Them girls got up from that kitchen and they talked about me like a dog. And I needed somebody to talk to. I needed somebody to understand me. I needed somebody to be with that time. But there was nobody. Just me and the God of my understanding. And as they begin to talk, I just sit back and I just cried. Because nobody could understand me. The next night, the same thing happened. But this time I was ready for them. I said, you know what? I can understand y'all want coffee and tea and it should be up here. And if I was y'all, I'd write a petition. And when Miss Carson come in the morning, I'd give her that petition so y'all could have coffee up here because I'm not opening that goddamn kitchen tonight. And man, they did talk about me. But I had to sit back and I had to listen to everything they were saying. And a lot of things that they were saying, I asked myself, Dorine, was you ever like that? Yes, I used to be just like that when things didn't go my way. I remember the times I would go downtown or I'd go to a doctor's office and I'd see a cute little receptionist or secretary. And all she had to do was look at me and say, may I help you? And I'd get a stone attitude. Who she think she is? She thinks she's so goddamn cute. I never could say, I wish that was me and I wished I'd look like that. But I'd rather ridicule the woman and bring the woman down than to say, I wish that could be me. And a lot of things they begin to say to me, and I begin to turn it around and look at it another way. Then I begin to get on my knees and I begin to pray and ask God to let me be perceptive and open. Now, mind you, y'all haven't heard me say anything but NA yet. For 8 years, I stopped using hard drugs in '68. And for 8 years, I staggered. And I like to look at it as if the God of my understanding had his loving arms around me for 8 years. But what happened, I did start drinking. And like we say in our Who Wasn't How, alcohol is one of the oldest known drugs we have. And a lot of us make that mistake going from one to the other, trying to come back to the other. And that's what happened to me in that 8 years. I love this fellowship here, and I thank God for this fellowship. But I did come in through another fellowship. And I was in that fellowship for 2 years. And I thank God for that other fellowship too, because it led me to this fellowship here. So I started counting my clean time. It's when I stopped doing the alcohol too, which was back in '75. Because the alcohol was a crutch to me, just barely holding me and carrying me through. And when I found the fellowship, it was so many beautiful people. It was like, y'all said, where have you been, Dorine? We've been waiting for you. I'm one of the ones that helped to get NA started in D.C. Because a lot of us wasn't welcome in that other fellowship in D.C. So we called Jimmy K out here, and he sent us a starter kit. So NA is about 10 or 11 years old in D.C. now. When I come into this fellowship, when I did find this fellowship, I found it just in time. Just in time. And I think God was holding me until I could find this fellowship. And when I come in here with a lot of pain. And when I say pain, I talk about that emotional pain. That type of pain that just gets you and just twists you all up in knots. And a lot of things I had to do when I first come in here. And that was to push family and everything back and begin to know this woman right here. Begin to learn how to love this woman right here. You know, that's the word we use so loosely about I love this and I love that. But until you can learn how to love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love anything else? When I come in here, I had to give up a lot of things. I had to sort of get my family back out of my way. My husband, who was a practicing addict, I had to make a decision that was not easy, because I did love my man, and I did want my man, and I did want to be with my man. But y'all told me that I was the most important person in the world. And how was I going to help him until I began to help myself? And we get so screwed up about how we want to reach out and help one another. And I'm here to tell you today, all you got to do is be a powerful example. Because in God's time, not in yours, it'll be all right. I went to work on myself, and I still wanted this man, but I did not want him the way that he was. And something told me, Dorine, my sponsor said, you got to make a decision. I would go, and he said, work the steps. I would sit in step meetings, and I would listen to the steps. And I was wondering, how was I going to work the steps on this? You know how you just don't want to give up something. Here I'm a woman in prime in my life, and damn, if I want to give my man up. But there was a decision that had to be made. And one night I took a look at my husband, and I said, I love you, but I can't handle you the way that you are. You're about one thing, and I'm about something else. And I've got to go. And I left. I packed my things, and I left. And left him with everything. And proceeded to go on and work on myself. I said that God works in mysterious ways and has wonders to perform. And that's just what I mean. My husband will be celebrating his 7th anniversary this year. After being separated for 5 years, never thinking that we would ever get back together, my husband come up to me and said he wanted help. If he wanted help, I said, you know where you had to go to get it. And he went into VA hospital after us being separated 5 years. So you can't tell me what can't happen. If you only believe, and if you only have the faith, and if you only trust, it'll be all right. I was sitting in a women's meeting today, and I heard Rita talking about her kids. We got a beautiful God. And to me, God works through people. I always say, unless I can see the goodness of the Lord amongst the land of the living, then I truly believe. And when I look around this room, I see the goodness of the Lord amongst the land of the living. And I do believe tonight. I didn't know how I was going to make amends to my son. But like I said, don't even worry about the amends, because in God's time, all of that will come. I begin to come in this program and I begin to work on myself. I begin to do all the little things that I had to do for me. And it was not easy to unlearn and start relearning all over again. Because there's so many things that you got to go through with in order to learn out who you are, where you are, and what your purpose in life is. And I never could have gotten help anywhere else but in this program. Because I had to come in here and I had to begin to talk about all the things that was going on and that was happening to me. And I could only do that by coming into this program. I didn't want to come in here and tell y'all how low down, filthy, and dirty I had really gotten. But when I look around this room, I see my mirror. And I'll tell you another thing that helps too. Prayer really helps. I got in this program and I began to start working the steps. I began to start asking questions. And I began to learn how to pray and ask God to help me to get through certain things. And like I explained to you, I come in here. I was uneducated, unskilled, not knowing which way to turn. And on that same job, that same halfway house, I began to get a job there as a counselor. And I worked from there from a counselor. Now I'm a parole officer. So when you come in here, and for the new man tonight, just come in here and just start believing when you see and you look around this room in here. This is the magic of the hope that's in these rooms. And I always say, there is no growth without pain. And the only way out of it is you got to go through it. God, don't move my mountains, but give me the strength to continue to climb. Come up, and the wind gets to blowing, and you get in the middle of a storm. Just hold on and just rock with it. And I guarantee you, every storm that you go through with, it ain't gonna do nothing but make a stronger man or woman out of you. Each storm that you go through with. So when you come in here and you get to hurting a little bit, just say, it's gonna be all right. I remember the time when I used to hurt for nothing, but today, thank you, I'm hurting for something. And start believing in yourself. Believe that it's going to be all right. Let Slewfoot know that he don't have no peace for you. Not today. And tell him to get behind you. And when you come in here, don't worry about nothing. Don't worry about the relationship, the man, mama, daddy, or the baby, because it's all going to come come together. Like I said, not in your time, but in God's time, it'll all come together. All you got to do is to try to keep that spirit up. No matter what storms that you're going through with, as long as you got the spirit up, it's going to be all right. And like I said, I was 53 years old the 2nd of March, a couple of days ago. And we talk about a lot of relationships around here. And I'm here to tell you that I have never had a wholesome relationship until after my husband come in this program. I've always dealt with a man with my behind instead of my mind. And I want y'all to know, if any of y'all in here going through any changes now about relationships, don't worry about it, because you're supposed to go through changes. And you got to come out of them storybooks and them movies and Father Knows Best and begin to deal with what is real. And you got to accept things the way that they are, not the way they should be or the way you want them to be, but accept it the way that it is and just move on. My husband and I has got the best relationship a man and woman can have today, because we're beginning to know one another. We begin to respect one another where we at. I was telling my sister the other day, if I had any other man the way I'd be traveling around the country, I would be in trouble. But today, the mother don't even have to worry about it. And I love him just as much today as the first day that I met him. But without that trust and that communication, it ain't gonna be nothing. He can't work my program, and I sure can't work his. There's so many little things that you're gonna have to learn. Little things that we just take for granted in here that mean so much. And like they say, this is a lifetime program, and there's always work to be done. And I am still working with myself. I had a heart attack about a couple of years ago, and I'm steadily gaining weight. I should have went to the nutrition program today. That's where I should have been at. But I know that too will be all right. Because anything you got or anything you want, you work it through the steps. And you can get it. I'm so sick and tired of my little sponsors coming up to me. Well, why don't you work the steps about your program? Well, why don't you wait the steps about your weight? I went to my doctor the other day. I said, man, how am I going to lose 100 pounds? He said, one day at a time. I said, oh, shit. So all I can tell you all is to keep the faith, hang on in here, and no matter how rough it gets, if you believe, if you truly believe, it will be all right. And all I can say is, nobody but you and nobody but you you can make me happy. Oh yes, you heal me too. When I was in trouble, you brought me through. Nobody but you and A. Nobody but you, nobody but you and A. Nobody but you can make me happy. Oh yes, you heal me too. When I was in trouble, you brought me through. Nobody but you and A. Nobody but you who stopped my wounded heart from crying. Nobody but you and A. Nobody but you. No, nobody but you and A. Nobody but you can make me happy. Oh yes, you heal me too. When I was in trouble, you brought me through. Nobody but you and A. Nobody but you. Thank you.